What's up, zoners? Welcome to the earliest waiver wire show on the planet. Today, I'm going to be telling you who to pick up off of your waiver wire, how much to spend on them for week 11. If that sounds interesting to you, hold on for 7 seconds.
You can do it!
What's up, zoners? This is Tyler, Big Turd Ward, and Banjo, the dog, coming at you live from my garage. And this is the Fantasy Red Zone. Today's episode. So like I said in the intro, this is our week 11 waiver wire ad show. If there is somebody that is not on this list that you think deserves to be on this list, please comment down below. Let everybody know this is a group effort and waivers are super important. Have all my notes typed out. I might as well share them with you. Here they are right now. First up, we're starting with running backs. Keaton Mitchell. I'd spent $30 on this dude. He was my secret stash of the year going like, I don't know, a month and a half ago. But then everybody started getting fucking injured and you could not hold on to him with your one IR slot. Today he had 3 rushes for 34 yards and a touchdown with a long rush of 39 yards. So yeah, dude, he had 39 yards and that turned into 34 yards with 2 more carries. 1 reception for 32 yards today versus Cleveland. The Ravens running backs only rushed the ball 16 times, so Keaton saw like a 19% rushing share. If he continues to get that moving forward, I do think that will be enough in this offense to be flex, maybe low end running back 2, but something could happen leading to Keaton Mitchell being a league winning running back. He led the Ravens rushing backs in rushing yards today. Last week he gained plus 108 rushing yards over expected on 9 carries. The most a running back has gained in a single game since week 10 of 2020. That was a Ronald Jones game. So dude, he has the talent. He is an undrafted rookie and a preseason darling of mine and many others. Then he got his shoulder fucked up. Went on IR for a while. We said to stash him. Dude, he ran a 4.3740. He hit 21 miles an hour last week. That is the fastest any Raven ball carrier this season, including Lamar Jackson. So not only is it showing up in the combine, it is showing up on the field. They host Cincinnati next week. They are giving up the 16th most fantasy points to running backs this year at 18.1. That is an average matchup. I do think I would be starting him in my flex. I started him in my flex in my 10-man league today. I think you could do that again moving forward. Next up, Devin Singletary. I'd spend $25 on this fool. This guy barely made it. I think he's like 48% owned or something like that. If somebody is 50% owned, they will not make this list. He did have 30 rushes for 150 goddamn yards and a touchdown today versus Cincinnati. He had a 100% rushing back share for running backs. I think a wide receiver got another rush. That was it, dude. Dameon Pierce out again this week. He's been out for 2 weeks in a row. Singletary, 23 snaps to Pierce's 25 snaps, so it's pretty much 50-50. The last game, both of them played together healthy, and that was coming out of the bye, so, you know, a lot of things change after the bye. After that, it was still 50-50. Singletary had 2 targets in that game to Pierce's 0, so Singletary, even if it is 50-50, he will be the pass-catching running back. But, dude, Dameon Pierce has not showed the ability to be a good runner this year, and, dude, Devin Singletary is 9th in forced missed tackles on the year. Singletary dominated running back touches last week, and that turned into 26 total yards. So that fucking sucked. He was on my radar last week, and he turned it into nothing. But this week, he showed what he could do. And hey, man, they host Arizona next week. They give up the 3rd most points to running backs at 24.5. That is a great matchup. Devin Singletary is probably flex worthy even if Dameon Pierce joins him next week. Next up, my Vikings, Ty Chandler. I want to keep on saying Tyson Chandler because, you know, the big old 7-foot New Orleans Hornet basketball player, been around forever. $5 I'd spend on this fool. 15 rushes for 45 yards and a touchdown today versus New Orleans. But man, he got his touchdown early and he looked efficient if you're just looking at yards per carry. And then New Orleans started to shut that down. Madison had 8 rushes. Chandler has had 0 rushes since week 5 versus Kansas City. He has had 4 snaps, period, total in the last 6 games. So this guy did come out of nowhere, but Cam Akers just busted his goddamn Achilles. So this is where he came from, born out of a torn Achilles. Ty Chandler emerges like a phoenix from the ashes, comes out here. Akers, out, and Madison ain't it. He is a 5th round, 2nd-year player. So he was a rookie last year. Same coaching staff drafted him. I do like that. He is at Denver next week. They're giving up the most points to running backs at 30.4. I do think that he could be a flex for you next week. Next up, the dude with the thighs that'll make you cry. Leonard Fournette. I'd spend $5 on this dude. Signed by the Bills. I picked him up like 2 weeks ago. I can't remember what was going on. Right when he said that he was going to sign. Then he got signed that following week. I have not heard shit about him, but I did see him in those tiny little shorts, and his legs look huge, man. Those are touchdowns tattooed all over him. Last in the league in most rushing metrics, but still had around 1,200 all-purpose yards and 6 touchdowns last year. You keep on hearing about what the Bills are missing. They need a running game. They need a running game. They need a short yardage running game, red zone running game. And Josh Allen keeps on getting hurt. So, hey, dude, Leonard Fournette has a very real chance to come in here and be a Jamal Williams for this offense, get a bunch of touchdowns, be touchdown dependent. But, hey, dude, that's fine in this offense because they're around the goal line all the time. They do host the Jets next week. They are giving up the 9th most points to fantasy running backs at 20.8. You can run on the Jets. They have a great defense. I'm not afraid of that matchup, but we need Fournette to get on the goddamn field. Next up, Zach Charbonnet. I spent $5 on this dude. He looks to not be getting much work today. I know that he caught a pass already where Kenneth Walker had not been targeted, but he did outsnap Kenneth Walker each of the last 2 games. He's averaging like 5.8 yards per carry entering this game, second behind Achane. So I noticed, because I am a Kenneth Walker owner, man, this guy gets chunks of yards, whereas Kenneth Walker he needs volume because every once in a while he'll just break a 60-yard run. This guy doesn't need that. He gets chunks, man. I do think that this guy will be a running back 1 if Walker ever does go down. They are at the Los Angeles Rams next week. They're giving up the 21st most points to running backs at 16.1 until Kenneth Walker goes down. Do not start Charbonnet, but he is one of the top handcuffs in the league. Speaking of top handcuffs, here we go. Tyjae Spears. I'd spend $1 on this fool. 5 rushes for 18 yards. 4 receptions for 45 yards today versus Tampa Bay. I do know that Henry had 1 reception for -1 yards. So, dude, Tyjae Spears is dominating in the receptions department. And, 9 touches to Henry's 12. So that's pretty close. I do not know the snaps just yet, but he did outsnap Henry last week, 44-36. Tampa Bay allowing the second fewest fantasy points to running backs this year. So, I mean, it did not surprise me that there was not a ton of rushes in this game for Tennessee Titans. This is, again, a top handcuff in the league. If Henry ever goes down, I do think that Tyjae Spears will be in that top 12 category. So a running back 1, running back, just because people go in there, just like a Madison, doesn't mean that they are a running back 1. I do think that Tyjae Spears would fill those shoes. They are at Jacksonville next week. They are giving up the 25th most points to running backs at 15.6. You can start Tyjae Spears in your flex if you have to. He just scored me 7 points today, and I did not start him in my flex. I probably could have because I started Michael Wilson. We will talk about that dude in a minute. All right, guys, the last of the running backs, Kenneth Gainwell. I'd spend $1 on this guy. 2 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. They are on bye this week. 7+ fantasy points only 3 times this season, so he is not doing that great. 5th easiest playoff schedule for running backs. That's what I'm talking about, dude. DeAndre Swift, we all know he gets injured, and he has had so much usage this year. It's pretty crazy. He has kind of fallen off as of late. Let's get in here early, get a piece of this, man. He is at Kansas City next week. They're giving up the 20th most points to running backs at 16.2. I do not like starting people against Kansas City this year. All right, on to the wide receivers. I kind of have a flip-flop on here, if you notice. Whatever. My number 1 wide receiver is actually number 2 listed on here. Demario Douglas, though, let's get into him. I spent $5 on this dude. He was my secret start of the week last week. I think he got you like 7 or 8 points. Not bad. 6 receptions on 9 targets for 84 yards today versus Indianapolis. The only wide receiver on the team with more than 1 target, dude. Like, what the fuck just happened there? 7+ targets in each of the last 3 games. They just got Bailey Zappi in there. I don't know if that's good or bad, dude. I think it's all bad. But I just chase targets. Like, on a shitty team, this is literally the only wide receiver catching fucking balls, dude. So he is worth a pickup. I'm telling you, man. Bourne is out for the year. Parker was out again with another concussion, but still, like, he has not been used that much anyways. Among 33 NFL wide receivers with at least 3 rushing attempts, Douglas, 9.7 yards per rushing attempt, ranks 5th, and 7.7 yards after contact rushes of rushing attempts is number 1. So when he gets to run the ball, he is pretty awesome at it. His 8 first read targets and 2 green zone first read targets lead all New England pass catchers. So green zone is in the 5-yard line. So like I said, he is getting plays dialed up for him on the 5-yard line. Okay, so it's him and Hunter Henry. So, dude, it's like a 50-50 touchdown for him almost on a weekly basis. Demario Douglas, dude, you cannot get this kind of stuff off the waivers usually, but the team is so shitty, he's on the waivers. They're at the Giants next week. They're giving up the 15th most points to wide receivers at 28.6. That is an average matchup. All right, guys, my number one wide receiver to pick up, Noah Brown, $15. He was on last week's episode. I was saying, hey, dude, this is a veteran slot receiver. Robert Woods is also the slot receiver there. Robert Woods was back, and Robert Woods didn't do shit. So 7 receptions on 8 targets for 172 yards this week versus Cincinnati. 150 plus receiving yards in back-to-back weeks. 18% target share over the last 3 weeks. Dude, 18% target share being a slot receiver in this offense looks like it's going to be pretty goddamn valuable. Nico Collins was out 2 days, so that is something to think about moving forward. It's not like he's going to have a ton of 150-yard games, okay? But 80 yards and some good targets? Yeah, that sounds about right. That is a good flex for me, and he's on your waiver wire. The Bengals giving up the 5th fewest points to slot wide receivers this year, and here he goes out and dominates against that team. So even if he has a bad matchup, CJ Stroud throws dudes open. Hosts Arizona next week. They're giving up the 13th most fantasy points to wide receivers at 29.5. That is a average matchup, a little bit slightly better than average. Noah Brown, dude, put him in your flex next week. Next up, my secret start of the week for this week. Go back and check out, they come out on Saturday mornings. Jason and I drink a lot on Fridays and talk about fantasy football, have our starts of the week, and then we post it on Saturday mornings. Check it. Michael Wilson, $1 on him. 75.5 receiving grade versus zone this year. That is 15 points higher than any other Arizona wide receiver. That's Marquise Brown is second in that, who's rated about 60. He leads the team in yards per route run at 2.17 and fantasy points per route run 0.40. So every route he runs, he's getting 0.4 fantasy points, and they are deeper than anybody else's routes against zone. So yeah, dude, Wilson against zone this year has 75 fantasy points. Hollywood Brown this year has 67 fantasy points. So Hollywood is the man beater. But hey, dude, a lot of the league plays a lot of zone. Look for Michael Wilson to start blowing people's minds in the coming up weeks with Kyler Murray. I saw he got 4 targets right off the bat. He was leading the team with Trey McBride. We'll see if that continues. 3rd round rookie. So Michael Wilson is a 3rd round rookie drafted by this coaching staff, which I love. So the talent is there. The draft capital is there. And again, TJ Houshmandzadeh said that this guy and Puka Nacua were the best 2 people coming out of the draft. He actually stamped this guy, Michael Wilson, out of Stanford to be the best wide receiver coming out of this draft. So there is still time for him to succeed, and now he gets Kyler Murray. He's at Houston next week. They're giving up the 30th most points to wide receivers. That's a terrible matchup at 22.4. Next up, Romeo Doubs, man. I do not like putting him on here, but just wait till you read some of these stats. I spent $1 on him. 3 receptions on 5 targets for 31 yards and a touchdown today versus Pittsburgh. I do not want to start. I made him my start of the week once, and I was like, that's it. He had 13 targets, 15 targets. Then I was like, oh, I'm making him my start of the week. Dude, Jordan Love ain't it, man. Jordan Love ain't it. I do not want to get involved with people that I can't trust, okay? And I can't trust Jordan Love. Only 16% target share since Christian Watson returned. So he's not getting, if you have a 60% target share in a goddamn Jordan Love offense, no thank you. He is 10th in red zone targets for all wide receivers. And he has a touchdown in 3 of 4 last games. Okay, so there's a good chance he's going to catch a touchdown in a game. Now, with that, he's probably going to get 30 yards. So you're relying on him to get a touchdown to be flex worthy. But I do think if somebody's catching this many touchdowns and getting this many red zone targets, he is worth picking up. They do host the Chargers next week. They're giving up the 4th most points to wide receivers at 32.3. That is a great matchup. Romeo Doubs, probably a flex. On to the tight ends. This guy kind of tripped me out. I never heard of him. Wrote his name down. Then he didn't do shit after the 2nd drive, okay? But still, I'm going to put him down here. Tanner Hudson, $1 just in case T. Higgins is out longer than expected. Even though it looks like Tyler Boyd was a benefactor of that. He had 6 receptions on 7 targets for 33 yards today versus the Texans. The 7 targets were 3rd on the team. He had 5 of those targets after the first 2 drives. I was like, who is this guy? Nobody else had more than 1 target. And this guy had 5 targets. So I wrote his name down. I was like, dude, that's somebody that you need to pick up. And then he didn't do shit, but still, might as well take a look at him. Undrafted in 2018. 2nd year with the Bengals. This is his 4th team. So he has bounced around all these teams. I forgot to write who he's going against next week. But if you want to look at him And if you are like, there's a lot of buys going on, you're in trouble for a tight end, and T. Higgins is out, you could probably start him. All right, guys, let's move on to the quarterbacks. I'm pretty excited about this guy right here, Joshua Dobbs. Man, if you need a quarterback, I'd probably spend more than $10, but I'm just saying $10 right now. 268 yards with 1 touchdown, 8 rushes for 44 yards and a touchdown this week versus New Orleans. He has 22 plus fantasy points in each of his last 3 games. One of those games were with the fucking Cardinals 2 weeks ago. Another one of those games were filling in for the injured, whatever his name was, rookie last week. I think he got like 3 quarters to play or less, and he got that many points. And then he comes out again, his first real start for the Vikings, and scores like 20-something fantasy points, dude. So this is great. I thought he was going to be like an 18, 20-point guy. Dude, if he keeps on running the ball like this, his floor is like 18 points. 7 out of the 10 games this year, he has had at least 6 rushing attempts. Dude, 7, if you average 7 a game, that is literally Josh Allen territory, when he has been killing it for the last like 3 or 4 years. He has a rushing touchdown in each of his last 4 games. What other quarterback can say that? I don't think anybody can. He is at Denver next week. They're giving up the 6th most points to fantasy quarterbacks at 19.1. Joshua Dobbs, top 10 probably quarterback right now. Speaking of fucking top 10 quarterbacks, do you want to deep throat some dubs with Jameis Winston? Yes, please. Dude, Jameis Winston, I'd spend $1 on. His car went out, carted off with a shoulder injury. If you know anything about Jameis Winston, you better trade for Chris Olave. Chris Olave had like 500 air yards in 2 games with Jameis Winston last year. Okay. So Winston he throws the ball, dude. He had 122 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That is such a Jameis Winston stat. Dude, he comes in, fucking gets 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He doesn't give a fuck, man. They are on bye next week, but monitor this because, dude, Jameis Winston is a top 15, top 12 quarterback if he gets to play in the NFL. He might even be a top 7, dude, if he gets to play. Because with those weapons, man, and the way he throws the ball, he's going to be scoring some goddamn points. Who knows if it's going to equal anything to fantasy success. I do think it sucks for Kamara. I am a Kamara owner. Jameis Winston will not be checking the ball down, okay? He will not be throwing the ball down to 15 times to Kamara. So that does suck. Jameis Winston, $1 on that guy. All right, everybody, that is the show. Thank you so much for watching. Again, this is an early episode. So I shot this show halftime of the afternoon games. If there's somebody that you do not see on this list, maybe go down, look in the comments. I will be adding them for the Sunday night, Monday night games. Also, remember to add people that you think deserve to be on this list. We need your help. Hopefully I earned a thumbs up. Hopefully I earned a subscription if you are not already subscribed. Hey, man, we need your help. We need your support. Just like I said, if we have enough support, we could do our drunk shows on Friday mornings, release that, and you can drink with us. Higher quality content, earlier content. We need your help. This is Tyler Big Turd Ward, and I appreciate you.